Hello everyone, it's Heather and I'm back for another video in my series about the 3 best and 3 worst things about each of my past cruises. I didn't start doing this type of video until our cruise on Disney Wonder in October of 2022, so I decided to go back and do a series of videos summing up the good and the bad of each of our past cruises. And this is the last one. Now this video is about a cruise that I have already documented with vlogs on the channel. This was our 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas, which we took in May, June 2022. So those videos are already up on the channel. I will put the playlist from that cruise at the end of this video if you want to go back and watch it. I did make quite a few videos during that cruise with a lot of commentary, okay, where I talk about things. But this one's going to be just a dedicated summing up of the 3 best and 3 worst things about that cruise. Okay, so again, that was a 7-night Eastern Caribbean. It was me, my son Ben, and my daughter Megan, who were both teenagers at the time. And this was a cruise for Megan's 18th birthday. It was over her birthday. We did start out at a huge table for like 10 or 12 people right by the door to the dining room. Did not like that at all. So before dinner even started on that first night, I went back out to the maitre d' or the dining room manager and asked for something else. And he gave us a very nice table for 4 all to ourselves right by the balcony overlooking the dining room below. So we were in the middle level of 3. Loved that table, loved our wait staff. Really great experience in the dining room. And we had a standard balcony stateroom. Best, kind of already alluded to this, our main dining room experience. We were very happy with our main dining room experience. I'm very happy that I realized by this point, after a couple of awkward table sharing experiences in the past, that I could request something different. Now, it's a little trickier to do it on Royal Caribbean. On Disney, they do this lickety split. It takes them like 10 seconds. Megan was so impressed on our Disney Magic Cruise in 2023 at how quick they accommodated my request. She was blown away. She's like, well, no wonder you were frustrated on our last cruise, which had been a Royal Caribbean cruise, and it was really kind of a mess to get us switched. So, but the dining room on Harmony of the Seas is beautiful. It's a 3-level main dining room, and each one has a slightly different style. The dining room on deck 3 was the American Icon Grill, I think. I think that's where they did the anytime dining. And then we were on deck 4, and then there was deck 5. Deck 3 was also where it was open if you wanted to go to the main dining room for breakfast or lunch. And we did have both breakfast and lunch in that part in the main dining room on different days of the cruise. So we got to experience those too. Had a very positive experience with those as well. But we had our designated waiters at early dining on deck 4 every night of the cruise. We had originally booked, when we first boarded the ship, I booked a 4-restaurant specialty dining package, or it might have been 3. It was 3 or 4. And I had made reservations for Wonderland, for the Mexican restaurant, Sabor maybe, the Italian restaurant, might have just been those 3. If there was a 4th one, I can't remember what it was. And I ended up canceling it and getting my money back. And we ended up just eating in the main dining room every night because we had a very weird negative experience going to Wonderland. That was supposed to be Megan's special 18th birthday dinner, and we did not like it at all. Now, some people love Wonderland, but we didn't, and I'm going to come back to that because that was actually one of our worst things. Okay, so back to our best thing, which was the main dining room. We just had a really positive experience in the main dining room. We had something different every night, but they also had favorites, like Megan was able to get the French onion soup, which she really, really liked. The molten lava cake thing that the kids really liked. The kids and I really liked the food in the main dining room. We were very happy with the service in the main dining room. They accommodated us when we had the snafu with Wonderland and came late. They still took care of us. They were very happy to have us. We liked the food a lot. We were really pleased. So this, again, I think was prior to the menu changes that Royal Caribbean made. And so this was the old menu. And we were very happy with it. We thought the food was very good. We had a very positive experience. So that was one of the best things. Number 2 was the ship. The Oasis class ships on Royal Caribbean are really cool. They're huge. They're very, very big. The one thing I need you to remember though is that the size of those ships is mainly staterooms. The reason they're so big, it's not that they have so much more or so much bigger public spaces, because actually the public spaces on the Oasis class are actually in many cases too small. And I'm going to come back to that too. But what really makes those ships so huge, besides the overall size of the ship, I mean, the width of the ship is wider, they're very wide. The length of the ship is longer. And Ben told me something that I did not know. The reason the Oasis class ships are so wide, and I actually also learned about this when I was watching a video about the Ever Given. Is that the one that got stuck in the Suez Canal? Yeah, the Evergreen cargo ships that got stuck in the Suez Canal. And we were talking about when cargo ships basically have to go through canals. Here's the deal. You can only make a ship so long. You can't keep making them longer and longer. I mean, like, riverboats are pretty long. They're low because they got to get under bridges, and they can only, even those can only get so long. If you make a ship too long, it'll break in half. Okay? And so you can only do that so much. And then if you want to make the ship any bigger, you have to make it wider. So that's why you see the Oasis class ships getting wider this way, because they really, you max out how far you can make it lengthwise. And even if you look at river ships like in Europe, they can only, you know, those long boats they've got, but then after a while, they only can go so far, and then they start making them wider. So the disadvantage to that is those wide ships can't fit through all the places that a ship might need to go. But if you look at what's actually on the ship itself, what that really does is it gives a little more length to the staterooms, but also they can fit more staterooms on them across. You know, so instead of just like 1 or 2 rows of inside staterooms in the middle, you'll have like four rows of inside staterooms in the middle, and then your balcony and outside staterooms on the outside. And it's more decks of staterooms. So if you count the number of decks that have public spaces, the Oasis class ships really do not have any more decks of public space than any other ship in the Royal Caribbean fleet. For the most part, what they really have in height is more decks of staterooms. So you're fitting more passengers on the ship, but the ship itself contains a similar amount of public spaces and venues as any other ship. Now, they can obviously fit more on the decks where there are public spaces. So there'll be more bars and lounges. There will be some more restaurants, things like that. The ships themselves are really cool. The design is cool. I like the neighborhood design where they have Central Park. That was one of our favorite spaces. And they have the boardwalk, and they have the aqua theater. You know, things like that are really cool. It was a nice newer ship. It was probably one of the newest ships we'd been on in a while. So we really did enjoy the ship itself. We thought the ship was cool. Okay, and then the third thing that was best was we went to Coco, and this was the first time we'd been there since it had been redone. And it was perfect day at Coco. So it was really cool. It's very, very beautiful. It's very well done. The landscaping is terrific. It's really pretty. The food at the free buffet that's included, the barbecue thing, the restaurant, there's a couple of them on the island, was really good. We really enjoyed the choices and everything. It was really set up really nice. It is a lot of walking around. There are trams that'll take you from the ship like to the main part where the island kind of splits into different sections, and that'll take you to the beach club, but that's an extra charge area. Otherwise, there is quite a bit of walking around that you have to do. We unfortunately booked this cruise extremely last minute, like less than 48 hours before we cruised. And so the water park, the big new water park on Coco was sold out. And so my kids were a little disappointed because they didn't get to do that. So we have to, when we go back, we have to make sure that we are able to book it sooner so that the kids can go there. They were able to go zip lining. And so that was the fun activity on Coco was on Megan's birthday that she and Ben got to go zip lining. And it's a pretty cool zip line because it's long. You go like to 4 different platforms all over the island, and it takes quite a while. So that was cool. Okay, the 3 worst things about this ship, and I am not the only person that has brought this up. Cruise with Ben and David specifically addressed this in a video that they did not too long ago too. And I got a lot of flack when I tried to explain what I meant by this in a video that we filmed on the ship. I got a lot of negative comments, a lot of, basically calling me stupid or whatever. They don't understand, okay? I don't think I explained it well enough. If you go on one of these ships, it will become evident to you pretty quickly, okay? For the number of passengers that they have on those Oasis class ships, which is 5,000-6,000 people, the venues that they hold events in, and I'm talking about events that you don't reserve in advance, just things that activities that you would normally go to on any ship, trivia, karaoke. These are you show up and go things, okay? These are not things that you book in advance. The venues are too small. You got 5,000 people and the venue only seats 100 that they're having trivia in, and 500 people want to go to trivia, okay? So it might only be a fraction of the people on the ship want to go to something, but it's still a huge number of people and they can't all fit. And the problem that we had on this cruise was we wanted to go to stuff, but it didn't even matter. We kept trying to go earlier. It didn't help because, like, for example, they would have 3 different trivia games in a row in the schooner bar. And we wanted to go to the second one, say. And so we would go really early, but the previous trivia game, which was something else that we weren't interested in, the people were already in there and it was packed full. And then they would all stay and play the second trivia game. So nobody got up, so none of the seats opened up, so you couldn't play. It was like that all the time. And karaoke was the same way. And when they had like game shows, same thing. You couldn't fit. There were not enough seats. The venues are too small. The venues on the Oasis class ships are too small for the number of people who want to participate in those type of activities on the ship. And the ironic thing is, when you go on the older, smaller ships, the venues where they hold those activities are way bigger than the ones that they try to put them in on the Oasis class ships. And you can get tons of people in there, and there's still plenty of room left over for people to come in at the last minute and sit. So that was really a negative because we missed out on being able to go to a lot of things that we wanted to go to because there was no room. And people were criticizing me saying about like the shows, the ice show, the aqua theater show, and the main stage show, which was Grease, okay? Those you had to book in advance. You had to reserve a seat. But here's the thing. People were like, well, you're dumb. You didn't reserve. No, I did try. You can't reserve the seats for those shows until you're on the ship. Okay, you can't book it ahead like you can book a shore excursion ahead or buy an internet package ahead or buy a photo package ahead or anything like that. You cannot book reserved seats for the shows, the aqua theater show, the ice show, or the main stage show until you're on board the ship. And because we had booked last minute, which is a long story, go back and watch the vlogs and you'll understand why, we got one of the latest boarding times on embarkation day. Plus, when we got on the ship, which was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I think, the app was not working. So I tried to book those shows, seats for those shows, as soon as I got on the ship, but the app was not working, so I couldn't. So for all of you who criticized us like we didn't know what we were doing, we knew what we were doing. We were on the ship late, so all the people that had got on ahead of us could have booked before us. And the app was down and not working when we got on the ship, and so we couldn't book until the app went up, which I remember when it was at dinner. It was at dinner that night by the time I kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. By the time I was finally able to book us tickets or reserved seats, you don't need tickets. It doesn't cost any extra. For Greece, it was during dinner. I never was able to reserve seats for the ice show or the aqua theater show because they were all gone. They were all taken. We did manage to get into the ice show by going and standing in the standby line, which is where you can go just stand and wait in line. And a lot of the people who reserved those seats ahead of time don't show up. Then they let in as many people as will fit to fill those seats right before the show starts. And we got into the ice show that way, no problem. I did have to stand in line for like 30 minutes. We tried doing the same thing at the Aqua Theater because, you know, the crew told us to do that, but they didn't have enough seats and I didn't get in. We didn't get in. We were able to watch a little bit of the Aqua Theater show from the lounge Dazzles, which looks out over it because during the day Dazzles isn't being used for anything and we just like to go sit in there because it was nice and quiet and we could kind of see it from there. So just be aware, the venues on the ships, on the Oasis class ships, including Harmony of the Seas, are not big enough for the number of people who want to go to those activities. That's the problem. You know, I mean, this is Royal Caribbean's trying to make as much money as they can by packing as many people as they can onto those ships. But if they want everybody to be able to go to all the things, they either have to make those venues bigger or they got to put less people on the ships. For me, I had a more satisfactory experience on the smaller ships. On Navigator of the Seas was my best experience when it came to activities and getting to go to shows and stuff on Royal Caribbean. I never had a problem. Walked right into everything. Plenty of seats. It was great. So I'd rather go on a ship of that size for that reason. Because if I go on the big ship, cool. I'm on the big new cool ship, but I can't do anything. So it's a problem that you need to be aware of because it's very possible that a lot of the things you want to do, you won't get to do because there's too many people and the venues are too small. Okay, second thing we didn't like about this cruise that was a worse thing was, again, very, very, very hot. May, June in the Caribbean, and especially in the ports, it was extremely hot. The one where we got off at St. Thomas and went and rode the gondola up the mountain and stuff, and it was so hot. It was hot anywhere you were outside. I mean, you just felt like you were just baking alive. It was very, very hot. And again, the top decks of the ship, unless the ship was moving, when the ship was moving, it was okay, because then you get a breeze. But if the ship was docked in port and not moving, it was so hot on those top decks if you're outside. So it was really, really hot. And again, that we don't like being hot, so that was a negative. Okay, and then the third and final worst thing of our cruise on Harmony of the Seas was our experience at Wonderland. Okay, so you let me know in the comments, have you been to Wonderland on any of the Royal Caribbean ships? Did you like it and think it was wonderful? Or did you not like it and think, oh my gosh, this is so bizarre? No, which is where we were. Okay, it's a Alice in Wonderland themed specialty dining restaurant. It's an extra charge. I don't know what the prices are currently, but it's, you know, the Mad Hatter greets you at the door. I think Alice is there. Is that right? Is she there? And they really, you know, they go all out with that whole theming right to the food, which was absolutely bizarre. The chef is obviously trying to be very creative and everything, and they are. It's very creative. We didn't like how it tasted. And you don't really get to choose what you eat. It's kind of a prefix menu, and they just bring you what they bring you. And you don't really get any choice in the matter, and so there's not really, they could a little bit accommodate like allergies and stuff, but not really. And so it was not good. We did, you know, we had basically the appetizers, I guess, is what the first stuff they brought us, you know, 3 or 4 things. And they were interesting and cool to look at and stuff. But the other thing we didn't like was they were like at your table the whole time. They were there and they were like explaining each thing. And then they were talking to you about it. And then they were watching you eat it. And we didn't like that at all. It's like, go away, leave me alone, just let me eat, you know? But not only did we not like how they did the experience, but we didn't like the food. The food that we did eat actually was making Megan feel sick. I could tell she was very disappointed and very like, Mom, I don't like this at all. I felt so terrible because here it was her 18th birthday and this was supposed to be a special dinner that she had chosen. And we just did not like it at all. And so we left. We just left and they stopped us and they're like, is everything okay? And I said, no. I said, we don't like it. we're gonna go back to the main dining room. I mean, I was very frank and honest. I said, we just don't like it. It's not for us. And so we went back to the main dining room, and we were about an hour late. And our main dining room waiters, who we had every night, our table was still free, obviously, because normally we would have been sitting there. They were happy as can be to see us. They were very happy to see us. They're like, oh, you came. And we're like, yes, we're so sorry we're late. Can we still eat here? And they're like, yes, yes, of course. And they sat us down, and we were so happy to have the food in the main dining room because we liked it so much better. And we told them, we said we went to Wonderland and we didn't like it at all. And they weren't surprised. I think they'd heard that a lot, that it's just not a lot of people's cup of tea. You've got to be a pretty adventurous eater to eat at Wonderland. You've got to probably not be an introvert because it's not a very introvert friendly environment. I would also say you probably shouldn't be very hungry because nothing that they have there is very filling. It's all very small. It's all about like the artistic creativity in what they're making and the taste of each thing. It isn't really about having a fulfilling meal that satisfies your hunger. So that's what I had to say about Wonderland. And it was definitely one of the worst things for us. Thankfully, the rest of the night went better. We had a very nice meal in the main dining room. And then I was able to get Megan in at the spa for a massage and a facial, which she enjoyed very much. And Ben and I went to a movie in the Aqua Theater, which I really liked that. They had movies in the Aqua Theater, which were really cool. We went to like 3 of them. Overall, we had a really good experience in Harmony of the Seas. We liked that cruise a lot, but there definitely are some negatives to it that you need to be aware of. It's a very different experience than cruises on not massively huge ships. Thanks for joining me for this video. I hope you found it interesting or helpful or enjoyable. If you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. This is the last video in this series, but I will be sure to make videos like this where I sum up the best and worst things from each cruise for each subsequent cruise that we go on. I have been doing that since October of 2022. Thanks again for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day and safe travels.